We've got Taylor in York.
Hey.
Hey, Taylor.
Just before I start, I want to, all these people in the chat room were saying something earlier, and I thought it was interesting. I don't want to refute this, I don't want to debate it, but I just want to say nutritional science is something that not really anyone fully understands, because even though we can understand compounds in like food and what they're made out of, we can't really, for whatever reason, I don't understand why, we can't really predict what they do in the body. I
have no idea what you're talking about, Taylor.
Start again.
It has nothing to do with atheism. I want to say that to all the people who are in the chat room listening. And
Okay.
I don't have an
Okay, this isn't the show to make shout-outs to the chat room. Only I get to do that.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm an atheist, but I have something I want to say. I thought there's an argument for the belief in God. It doesn't really have any evidence for God, but I find it really interesting. Do you know who William James is? He was a philosopher, but he had a lecture called "The Will to Believe," and basically his whole point was that sometimes you need to believe in something before you can actually find out if it is true or not. Now, that's not to say that believing in something will make it true, but sometimes truth can only be revealed if you believe in it first. And an example of that would be...
Yes, give me an example.
This is what his scenario was. There's a man, or a boy and a woman, and they're like together or something, and the boy wants to know if the woman is in love with him, and but he doesn't know. He has no evidence for or against it, so he assumes that she just doesn't. In that case, he would never act in a way which would reveal if she did or did not. Unless I say that she did love him, he would never act in a way that would let him find out if she did love him or not. And I have issues with this, but I want to know what you guys think of it.
Sounds like amateur game theory to me.
It's asinine. It's not an example of something that you must believe in order to find out that whether or not it's true. That's an example of somebody saying, I'm going to pretend like it's true, and then they happen to find out that it was.
Well...
Or they're hiding their vulnerability, which is a different thing entirely.
The claim is that that there are things that it is impossible to discover the truth value on until you first believe them. And I've seen no example of anything remotely like that. And to me, it's patently absurd. But if anything, believing something before you find out whether or not it's true prejudices you in such a way that you're more likely to find evidence that supports your belief.
That's actually an issue I have against it, and I was hoping you guys would say that.
I would
basically agree with you, but here's another example. Maybe this will make it more clear what I was saying. I don't think this is convincing enough that I believe in God, obviously, but here's another example. First, one thing that you really do have to believe in before it can actually be true, and I have issues with this too, but I thought this would be interesting to talk about again. Another thing that you do need proof, or you can't have proof of before you believe in it, and only believing in it will result in it being true, is like if you want to what was his example? It was like, for example, I guess it would be like any sort of self-betterment. You know, like losing weight or something like that.
No.
You wouldn't, or like
No.
Raising a goal. There you go. Like
No.
If you don't believe that you're going to be able to obtain that goal. Yeah, I know. But just a second. If you don't believe,
well, you can't apply this. I mean, applying this to a person's mental state or psyching themselves out for some sort of project or whatever, that's completely different than applying this to a God, right? The objective reality doesn't depend on your mental states, right? Your mind games might depend on your mental states, but not objective reality. You can't just make an analogy from, you got to psych yourself out to lose weight, to, you got to psych yourself out to believe in God. No. I mean, either there is a God or it isn't. It's either something that is provable, there's evidence for it, or there isn't. And so far, we don't have any evidence for it. So I don't buy this. I don't buy this analogy.
The whole thing was, let's just say, you with the whole love that thing I was talking about earlier with the guy finding out if the girl loved him or not, we can actually experience love. We actually know that we know what it is. Pretty much everybody can experience it. Mm-hmm. We can experience reaching a goal, but we can't experience God. The
theist would the theist would disagree with you on that. But I want to see if Amy had anything to add, since we all talked in a circle and.
No.
Nope. Okay. There we go. The big thing is that the initial claim was that there are things that are true that you must believe in before you get to them. That's not the case, for both the reason Don that I pointed out and that I pointed out. This idea that I need to believe that I can do something in order to do it. Okay, that is, I'm establishing confidence that I am likely to achieve something, and this confidence benefits me more than a negative outlook would, and I am therefore affecting the outcome. But that is not the same as saying that this will only happen if you believe it. Well, actually, whether or not it will happen is different from talking about whether or not it's true. And that's the point that Don was making, that we're talking about objective reality.
Yeah, not a very good example.
So either there is a God or there isn't. And so if someone claims that the only way that you can find out if it's true is to believe it first, they are the first victim of self-deception.
Well, yeah, I do. I do agree with you. So if I didn't agree with you, I'm sure I could come up with a
Of course you agree with me. I'm right.
I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
He does kind of make a good point. Oh, I don't know. Actually, maybe you guys can prove to me that it's not good now that you've done that. He does say later on that it is at least rational to believe in something, even if there's not sufficient evidence for it.
No, that's not a good point.
Well, that's not. I didn't make the point yet. He said that, and I was going to. There was more to it. Actually, if I explain
let him finish.
That might take a really long time because he has some huge lecture, and I have to quote a lot of it. So maybe you should just look up William James, and if this sounds at all interesting to you,
I've read James, and no, this doesn't sound at all interesting to me.
Yeah, you guys really.
The claim that it is rational to believe something before you have sufficient evidence is something I find absolutely repugnant.
Let's see. What was that other guy?
I don't know, but Taylor, there's 3 other lines waiting. So find out the other guy, and you can call back in and talk more if you want.
Okay, yeah. I probably won't need to because I doubt that I'd have enough of an argument to convince you guys because I don't even agree with this stuff.
Well, okay. Maybe if you
that
believed
might have
in
been your first clue.
it would be true.
Thanks, Taylor. I get tons and tons. I get buckets. I get buckets of email from theists presenting their arguments for the existence of God. The other day, somebody hit me up on Facebook saying, "Hey, have you seen this list of Ravi Zacharias' 6 questions to ask atheists?" Which, by the way, wasn't 6 questions to ask atheists. It was 6 veiled arguments that contained a bazillion questions that were among some of the lamest presented. The difference is that, of course, guys like Zacharias have a better
He's got the charisma.
Vocabulary, charisma, presentation. Mm-hmm. Their arguments are no more valid than the ones you would hear from Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron.
He just sounds convincing.
I went piece by piece through those 6 points and posted it up at the blog. And it's a good time to advertise the blog. It's atheistexperience.blogspot.com. And that post went up a couple days ago where I take his arguments apart fairly and honestly, piece by piece, pointing out the fallacies. There's nothing new there. And by the way, one of the things that Taylor mentioned was about James was arguing for belief. And that's all that Zacharias does in his 6 points. He's not arguing for the existence of God. He does nothing but make implied arguments for belief. That, oh, you better believe in God or bad things will happen. Oh, you better believe in God or your life is meaningless. Oh, you better believe in God or you have no answers to the big questions. None of those are arguments for the existence of God. None of them are arguments for anything other than belief as a way of avoiding the confusion and fear and discomfort that people have with not knowing. I'd much rather embrace reality. I'd much rather discover reality. And for people, James or otherwise, who are asserting that there's some rational justification to just go on ahead and believe in something when you don't have enough evidence, no, sorry. Demonstrate that that's actually true, and maybe you'll have something. But